Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tea and Tolkien Thursdays. Today, I present to you a miniature podcast episode, which will be available for you to enjoy while I get all the other podcast episodes ready for viewing. And if you're new to this channel, be sure hit that subscribe button to get more content from me. Let's get started.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away as in the 70s and 80s, filmmakers tried to tame the wild beast that is the Lord of the Rings. Spoiler alert, it didn't end well. Remember that animated movie by Ralph Bakshi and John Boorman's ambitious attempt? Curious about how it all went down? Well, the journey to movie greatness isn't always smooth sailing. So, let's dive into the epic fails of the 1970s Lord of the Rings films. The epic saga of J.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings has captured the imaginations of readers. Since its publication in the mid-20th century, the narrative's complex world-building, rich lore, and profound themes have long made it a prime candidate for adaptation into film. However, transforming Tolkien's masterpiece into a cinematic experience proved to be an arduous journey, marked by numerous failed attempts throughout the 1970s and 1980 seconds. This essay explores the various efforts, obstacles, and reasons behind the unsuccessful attempts to bring The Lord of the Rings to the big screen during this period. The first notable attempt to adapt The Lord of the Rings for the screen was by director John Boorman in the early 1970s. Boorman, known for his work on the 1972 movie Deliverance, envisioned a single, expansive film that would condense Tolkien's trilogy. However, his approach diverged significantly from the source material. Boorman's script included numerous deviations, such as merging characters and introducing new plot elements. This approach alarmed Tolkien purists and raised concerns about preserving the integrity of the original story. The project also faced practical challenges. Boorman's vision required a substantial budget and convincing studios to invest in a high-risk, high-reward fantasy film was difficult. The sheer scale of Middle-earth, with its diverse landscapes and numerous fantastical creatures, demanded advanced special effects technology that was still in its infancy. Consequently, Boorman's ambitious project was ultimately shelved due to creative differences and financial constraints. In the late 1970s, animator Ralph Bakshi took up the mantle, aiming to create an animated adaptation of The Lord of the Rings. Bakshi, renowned for his work on Fritz the Cat 1972 and Wizards 1977, believed that animation could better capture the fantastical elements of Tolkien's world. He proposed a two-part animated film to cover the entire trilogy, hoping this format would allow for a more faithful adaptation. Bakshi's project, however, encountered numerous hurdles. The first film, released in 1978, was a mix of traditional animation and rotoscoping, a technique where live-action footage is traced to create realistic animation. While this approach allowed for some impressive visuals, it also led to a somewhat disjointed aesthetic that divided audiences. Additionally, the film covered only the first half of the trilogy, ending abruptly after the Battle of Helm's Deep. Financial and logistical issues prevented Bakshi from completing the second part, leaving the story unfinished and disappointing fans who yearned for a complete adaptation. Throughout the 1980s, several other attempts to adapt The Lord of the Rings were made, but these too fell victim to various financial and creative issues. Producer Saul Zaentz, who had acquired the rights to Tolkien's works, was instrumental in many of these efforts. Zaentz, along with filmmakers like John Boorman, Peter S. Beagle, and others, worked on developing scripts that would do justice to Tolkien's epic. Despite their efforts, these projects struggled to secure the necessary funding. The high production costs associated with creating Middle-earth's diverse settings and creatures were a significant barrier. Moreover, The mixed reception of Bakshi's animated film made studios wary of investing in another adaptation. As a result, many promising scripts were written but never realized, remaining as tantalizing glimpses of what could have been. A significant obstacle to adapting The Lord of the Rings during the 1970s and 1980 seconds was the limitation of visual effects technology. Tolkien's world is filled with mythical creatures, expansive landscapes, and epic battles, all of which require sophisticated special effects to portray convincingly. The technology of the time, however, was not advanced enough to bring these elements to life in a way that would satisfy both fans and filmmakers. While some progress was made with practical effects and early computer-generated imagery (CGI), the results were often unconvincing. This technological gap contributed to the hesitation of studios to greenlight large-scale fantasy projects. Filmmakers recognized that without the ability to create believable ORCs, elves, and other fantastical beings, any adaptation would fall short of the immersive experience readers expected. The changing tastes and market conditions of the 1970s and 1980 seconds also played a role in the failed attempts to adapt The Lord of the Rings. During this period, Hollywood was experiencing a shift in audience preferences. The rise of blockbuster films, starting with Jaws 1975 and continuing with Star Wars 1977, changed the landscape of the film industry. Studios were increasingly focused on producing high-concept, easily marketable films that could guarantee box office success. The Lord of the Rings, with its dense narrative and complex themes, was perceived as a risky venture. The fantasy genre itself was not as mainstream as it would become in later decades, and previous fantasy films had met with mixed success. This climate of uncertainty made studios reluctant to invest in a project that demanded significant resources and carried the risk of not appealing to a broad audience. The 1970s and 1980 seconds were marked by numerous failed attempts to adapt The Lord of the Rings into a successful film. These failures were due to a combination of factors, including script and scale challenges, financial hurdles, technological limitations, and changing market conditions. Despite these setbacks, the persistence of filmmakers and the enduring popularity of Tolkien's work eventually paved the way for success. The eventual realization of the Lord of the Rings films by Peter Jackson in the early 2000s was a testament to the progress in filmmaking technology, the growing acceptance of fantasy as a mainstream genre, and the dedication of those who believed in the story's potential. Jackson's trilogy, with its groundbreaking special effects, faithful adaptation, and epic scope, finally brought Tolkien's world to life in a way that resonated with audiences worldwide. The journey to this success, however, was long and fraught with challenges. The many failed attempts of the 1970s and 1980 seconds serve as a reminder of the complexities involved in adapting beloved literary works for the screen. They also highlight the importance of perseverance, innovation, and the gradual evolution of the film industry, which together eventually made it possible to achieve the seemingly impossible task of bringing Middle-earth to the big screen. Thank you for watching this video. It's fascinating to see how the 1970s Lord of the Rings movies were a bit disappointing. Yet the 1999 to 2000 Lord of the Rings movies were absolutely enchanting. But that's not all, because next week, I'm going to talk about how The Lord of the Rings went from unfilmable to a cinematic juggernaut during the years 2001 to 2003. Stay tuned!
Well, that's all the time we have for today. If you like this video, then make sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you soon with another video.
แม่